Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Lightning Round. I am Kevin Tompkins, as always, with Gary Haddow. And if you were with us for our NFL draft stream on day one, you saw the man below on screen, Andrew Cooper, with us all night as we analyzed all the picks from that night. Well, after much begging and intense contract negotiations with the Fantasy Alarm, we were able to get him with us to co-host. So Lightning Round is now a three-man operation. Coop, welcome into Lightning Round, buddy. How are you?
Thanks for having me, man. It was the first 2 days of begging that you did that I was like, you know what, I don't know if I'm going to do it. But then when Gary promised me he would mail me a case of rare beers, that's when I was like, you know what, let's do it. Let's talk some football. So thanks, guys. Happy to be here.
Love it. Yeah, thank you, dude. This is going to be awesome with the three of us here. Gary, my friend, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's still an adjustment. I still hear the old podcast intro song even when I see ours. And I'm like, it's not here. But I'm really excited to be here. New friends. It's fantastic. I'm excited. Share some lightning, thunder. Let's do it.
Lightning and the thunder. Before we get into our show tonight, just be sure that you're hitting the like button on this video on YouTube, subscribing on YouTube as well. Just search for Lightning Round and find our awesome logo. Thank you, Jordan Loop, for that. Also, make sure you check us out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, anywhere else that you're getting your podcasts. Hit subscribe on there as well to keep tabs on all of our updates that will be coming down the pike. We got a few months here before the NFL season kicks off, so you'll definitely want to tune in and get all your news, get everything that we're bringing down the pike. Lastly, our friends over at Viridian Global have Lightning Round merchandise over there. You just go to viridianglobal.com, click on Football Collective, and if you purchase some of our gear, enter the code Lightning Round, all one word, for 25% off of your purchase. And I am wearing the hoodie right now. It is fantastic. It's comfortable. And all I wear is hoodies. So you guys are going to love it. And where the hell are you guys?
Mine are going soon. I'm still rocking SFB9.
I'm so new. I'm wearing the Bruins because we're in overtime right now against the Capitals. I don't even know if we've won or lost. Looks like 14 seconds left. We'll have to see. But I imagine my welcome package with a bunch of shirts and hats and stuff is in the mail.
It's coming, and we'll CC you on the Scott Fishbowl 9 memo next. That we like to coordinate. We're
sorry. I go get it. I got a yellow one from that one. It's real nice.
Yeah, the interns have not added you into our email group yet, so we will make sure that we get you added on into all the important memos here that go through Lightning Round Core. But other than that, we are here because you love to see it. Players that we love for 2021. All three of us have one player at each position: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, that we love and are planting our flag on, I guess, if you want to call it that. So we'll go with the newbie first. Andrew Cooper, quarterback. Who do you love?
Perfect. So for me, this one is a guy that I've actually liked for quite some time now. He's one of the tougher guys, though. A lot of times with the tough guys, you've seen it with like Romo and Big Ben. They refuse to kind of go down, at least to injuries. But my guy, Matthew Stafford, going off at QB11, right? So and QB11, we're talking about in most leagues, is basically free. You know what I mean? He's being passed up on. You might have to get him at 9 or 10, but, there's a lot of mobile guys going first. But here's the thing with Stafford. He's been a good player in this league for a long time. He throws down 4,000 yards just about every time he's not hurt. The year before last, he was hurt. He was on pace for 5,000 yards, and he's thrown 5,000 yards in the past. So now he gets lined up with Sean McVay, who's a quarterback guru. He's got Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp playing the two flanker slot roles, and they brought in Deshaun Jackson as a field stretcher. If Jackson gets hurt, they brought in Tutu Atwell as a backup field stretcher, and they already have Van Jefferson, who plays all the other roles. So, he's got all the he finally is in a good organization. He's got all the weapons he needs. He's healthy. If there isn't a time to go wheels up on Stafford, now is the time. So, and he's fairly cheap, QB11. So for me, I'm going to end up with a lot of Stafford.
I love it. He is who I had typed into the show doc and got rid of it at one point. And they traded 2 firsts to go and get him, and kind of like, I think of it in like, I know it's not running back terms, but it's like, if you go and trade 2 firsts, you are planning on doing big things with them. It's a quarterback. They're obviously going to get a ton of attempts already, but I mean, just, that McVay was like, oh my God, this is a match made in heaven. I can't wait to see what this offense is. Like, remember how good they were when it was Goff? What was that, 2 years ago? And they were just like lighting the NFL on fire. And now all of a sudden we get to do the same thing with Stafford. It was way better than Goff. I can't wait for this offense. I can't wait to see what it does with Kupp and with Robert Woods. So I'm completely lockstep here.
Yeah, anytime you can get an upgrade for my boy Robert Woods, I think you got to do it, and definitely Stafford is that. Just even on just play action alone, and his comparison to Jared Goff as far as throwing the ball downfield and his accuracy throwing the ball downfield as well. Matthew Stafford, I believe, averaged three full yards on air yards per attempt, higher than Jared Goff. So just opening up that offense. With Cam Akers as burgeoning running back, that offense is going to be fantastic. You're just going to see almost how much Jared Goff was holding back the offense and just its potential. Sean McVay is going to have a lot of fun with Matthew Stafford being thrown to Woods, throwing to Kupp, throwing to Tyler Higbee now that he doesn't have to worry about Gerald Everett now. It's just going to be a really fun offense, and that NFC West is going to be absolutely loaded. Add Matthew Stafford into, now we've got Trey Lance and, whatever happens in San Francisco. We got Russell Wilson, you got Kyler Murray. That's going to be just an offensive explosion, in mostly the late games each week.
It's going to be fun. Can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, I'm pumped, man.
100%. Yep. Gary, quarterback you love.
So right now it's Matt Ryan. I mean, they took Kyle Pitts at the 104 in the NFL draft. They have Calvin Ridley, who just seems to be getting better and better every year. And they have Julio Jones, who has been one of the best wide receivers in the NFL year in and year out. And who knows what's going to happen with his health. I mean, assuming that he's staying healthy. I mean, what wide receiver that's kind of like forgotten so for the most part in a lot of drafts, end up in the second or third round, that all of a sudden can easily be the wide receiver 1 overall in the season. He just got to stay healthy. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. Then you bring in Arthur Smith, and for me, that's the biggest piece of this. I think that Arthur Smith is such a smart head coach. He was the offensive coordinator with the Titans. He comes over, and the things that he's going to scheme up to do with that offense, with the big 3 of Pitts and Ridley and Julio, it's not as if they have any stellar run game. Mike Davis is leading that backfield right now. So it seems like it's going to be Ryan's time to shine. They're paying him $40 million next year. It's going to be 48. Like, they're going to do everything they can to get the most out of him. I love it. And he's going quarterback 14 right now. So again, talk about it being free. Like, this is a point where if you're just going to wait, some people are going to take their second quarterback, and you're still going to be able to get Matt Ryan. Because I think a lot of people just don't feel that he has that upside, but we've seen it before. He's been QB3. He has that yo-yo effect, and I think that we're gonna see a big uptick in his value this year.
Yeah, I'm all for it, and especially in a 6-point passing league. Like, if you're in a 6-point passing league and you wait, you could take Stafford and Ryan and not use a lot of draft capital.
Yeah.
Everyone is obsessing over these, the running quarterbacks, and it's a great thing. But I mean, when you look at the quarterbacks that have thrown 50 touchdown passes, they're, those guys lead the league, and it's the Peyton Mannings, Tom Brady. Mahomes didn't really run all that much when he was doing that. So, I mean, and then you look at these 3 guys. There's so many people out there that are, all over Kyle Pitts, running out the best case scenario with him. But the reality is that with Julio and Ridley there, he's the 3rd target. Yeah. So if you think Pitts is going to do well, then you basically have to have them in the anomaly class of offenses, which they've been before. Just 2 years ago, Matt Ryan got hurt, but had he not, he would have thrown 684 passes, Schaub through the rest. But that would have been the 3rd most all time. So, like, if you really think Pitts is going to get that usage, you could actually get a cheaper way into that offense by just taking Matt Ryan. Because for him to be good, they have to throw a ton, and I think they will.
Hell yeah, totally. The one thing, if I just can add, the offensive coordinator is the one question mark here. Dave Ragone, I think is his last name. He's coming over. He was a quarterbacks coach with the Bears and their passing game coordinator. I'm curious to see what happens there, but Arthur Smith, I think he's just such an offensive head coach already that who knows what he's going to do with if the OC is going to have a big role or not. But sorry, just had to throw that in there.
On that, I mean, just real quick, like Jimmy Graham played so much slot for them. And then at the end of the year, if you look, when Cole Kmet came on, started getting 6-7 targets, me and Kevin talked about this. Cole Kmet actually took over that slot role. So an offense that likes using wide receiver at slot, and Nagy was the one that was part of the whole Travis Kelce at slot thing with Kansas City. So now you got that coaching tree. You got a whole tree of guys that know how to use a big slot tight end. I mean, it could be wheels up, and could be real easy for Matt Ryan.
Yeah. I mean, Matt Ryan, I've loved him for years. The only thing I worry about, like Gary and you said it, was about Arthur Smith, coming over. And yeah, it could be a bit run heavy, but I mean, have you seen Mike Davis's legs though? I mean, let's be honest.
Fair.
I mean, if that's not going to rise ADP, I don't know what is.
He's a big dog.
He is a big dog. He is him and AJ Dillon. That's going to put them in a ring together. But no, Matt Ryan, I mean, he's not going to run. I mean, we pretty much know that. But yeah, if he throws, just goes bonkers. I don't know if he's going to be able to pass the ball as much as we would think, but just the quality of receiver that he has at his disposal, add Kyle Pitts now too. It's going to be fantastic for him. And, I do worry a little bit about the Julio Jones, the trade rumors going around. That is something to discuss as well. But if Julio Jones is there, week one, and we'll see how many games he plays, because he has just a reserve spot, on IR, it seems like every year. But, Matt Ryan can easily find his way into the top 8 of quarterbacks. And and at that point, you're getting him at a value. Like you said, you can pretty much stack Stafford and Matt Ryan after, round 9 and 10, and you still have your offense. You have those 2 quarterbacks, especially in like a best ball where you don't have to pick which one you have to start every week. So it's just absolutely perfect. I think Matt Ryan is a great, if you don't want to spend up at quarterback, which seems to be the way things are going now, so that you have those running quarterbacks. Matt Ryan is the, where you would be able to get like a Tom Brady or a Drew Brees, a bunch of years back before all these running quarterbacks started making their way in. That's the value now. So if you can, deal without a running quarterback, that's a pretty good option. Also in that tier is my quarterback that I love, is Joe Burrow. We just got great news from Adam Schefter about Joe Burrow, who is slated to start week 1. He is, quote, all systems go for week 1. So Joe Burrow, I have likened this offense to the Dallas Cowboys in the AFC, where now you've got Burrow, you've got T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, you've got Joe Mixon, you've got all these pieces here, and it's a team that does not have a great defense, who will probably be throwing, who will probably be behind in a number of games, and this could just be fantasy goodness. If Burrow is able to stay upright, which that was the main point of contention with people that wanted the Bengals to draft Penei Sewell, but they did draft a tackle in the second round, Jackson Carman. So we'll see how that goes. If that decision, proves it was a great one, then wheels up on the Cincinnati Bengals. But Joe Burrow, as the guy slinging the ball to all these awesome receivers, Zach Taylor there, I really like it. And I think his ADP is very close to those guys that we just talked about, Stafford and Matt Ryan. And Joe Burrow can run too. So I think he adds a little bit more out of that buoyed, points floor for quarterbacks. He's not going to be Kyler Murray and flirt with 1,000 yards, but I think, maybe 350 to 450 yards and a handful of touchdowns. If he's going to be throwing the ball to all those Bengals receivers, I mean, you're talking about a quarterback 6, and possibly upwards.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that that team uses more 11 personnel than any other team. It's all wide receivers. They just got rid of Ethan Carter, who was their only fullback, so they're not going to be doing that, fullback stuff that the Ravens and the Patriots do that slow things down, and they don't have a second tight end, really. I mean, I guess if they want to use Uzom and Sample, but I doubt they will. So it's when you have 3 wide receivers that can all stretch the field, that is the recipe for explosive plays.
Excited to see what they can do. You guys said it all perfect. I don't even have anything to add. I just agree.
Good.
Well, if you are just joining us, this is Lightning Round with Gary Haddow and new co-host Andrew Cooper. I am Kevin Tompkins. And you know what, Gary, we'll go to you now with running backs. Who is the running back that you love?
So I'm actually going to go a little bit deeper here. I find that guys that I love really have to present a good amount of value. And I'm actually going to go with somebody that a lot of people have been poo-pooing, and that's with James Conner. He's now on the Arizona Cardinals. I feel like we've forgotten that it was just 2 years ago that James Conner was, I think, the RB6 on the year. Like Le'Veon Bell held out, and you potentially got Conner at the end of your drafts or as a waiver wire addition, and all of a sudden you had the steal of the draft, like no question. Last year, and he started to get a little bit banged up, and last year he was banged up significantly, but he's on the Cardinals now. He's getting a fresh break. The Cardinals' offensive line is rebuilding. We obviously know they have Kyler and DeAndre Hopkins. The big question mark, is it going to be Chase Edmonds or is it going to be James Conner? And in the great words of J.J. Zachariason, like, you want to look for late round running backs that are in muddied backfields that have the potential to emerge and take that over. We know what we saw with Kenyon Drake and with Chase Edmonds, and they never fully gave Chase Edmonds really the chance to be that number one. They always had Kenyon Drake even at the goal line. And I think that Conner has the chance to just take over this backfield, and Chase Edmonds is just a change of pace back. But James Conner is a really good pass catching back. Like, we forget how good he was because last year is just this stink left over on everything. He's RB37. You're getting him so late in your drafts that he is well worth having him as your RB45 that could potentially be a high-end RB2 when this season is said and done.
And just to tag on, with Chase Edmonds there, he actually played over 100 snaps at slot and wide receiver last year. It's kind of starting to look – I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard anything about Larry Fitzgerald and whether he's coming back or not, but with a guy like that, you look at J.D. McKissick on the Washington football team, who also played over 100 snaps at wide receiver. There's room for a full-time running back and a guy like that goes out and plays a ton of wideout. So, I mean, I don't see why Chase Edmonds, in a offense that wants to use a bunch of guys at wide receiver all the time in the air raid, I don't see why they can't coexist. So I kind of love that pick, Gary. I didn't realize he was going that late. What's his ADP again?
So he's RB37.
Oh my God, dude.
I don't have his specific, but I mean, he's going in that range. I think he's behind Zach Moss. I would rather have Conner than Zach Moss. I get the upside possibility, but whatever. Around AJ Dillon, it really, like, he's just going in that backup tier as if he's a backup. He's at worst a 1B. I don't think he's the backup by any means.
RB37. That's around when Kev's just thinking about taking his first running back, right?
Yeah, around these parts, Gary, we call that the 0 RB tier.
That's yeah. When those guys leave, that's when Kev starts thinking about taking a running back.
Wait,
exactly.
Let's be serious there. Like, modified 0 RB would be fantastic to take Conner as your RB2, right?
Yeah.
Get a very high end, go wide receiver heavy, and then boom, James Conner, and you have the potential to have an RB2 as a steal later in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's basically right now he's a lottery ticket. I mean, Chase Edmonds is getting buzz now, but would it surprise me if James Conner found some health and was able to, show what he showed in Pittsburgh when he was healthy? It would not surprise me at all. With the wide receivers there and Kyler Murray, I think it's going to open stuff up for a running back, whether it's Edmonds or James Conner. Edmonds, we've seen, have passing game potential, and the same with James Conner. So, if James Conner ends up getting, if he works his way into this job and does not give it back, which would certainly, put a damper on the Chase Edmonds truthers there. But I think James Conner is a fantastic, stash. Like I said, I have him at RB 40 right now, but I have him squarely with guys I love, like Jamal Williams, Kenyon Drake, in that, outside of your starting running back. So I have him squarely there, and I think he's a great lottery ticket on a great offense for Arizona.
And he's going at the 1009. That's how late he's
1009. That's wild. That's Right in my wheelhouse.
Easy one. Am I up?
Coop.
All right. So we actually already talked about this offense a bit, but I'm taking Joe Mixon in a ton of leagues. I find that in the second round, he's the guy that I want. And with Joe Mixon, the situation is if you really ask people about what they think about Joe Mixon, no one ever says that he's not good. Like no one ever is like, oh yeah, Joe Mixon, he stinks or whatever. They say, oh well, he gets hurt all the time, or the team is bad, or Gio Bernard is there. Well, all those things are kind of done with. Gio's gone, and the offensive coordinator said that we think Joe Mixon should play every down. He shouldn't come off the field. The team, we just talked about how the offense is much improved. They finally have a quarterback. They have all these wide receivers. They're going to be moving the ball. It's like you think about some of these guys like LeGarrette Blount. Like he scored 18 touchdowns with the Patriots. Was that because LeGarrette Blount's really good, or was it because the Patriots were really good? It's more the offense is good, right? And then, of course, the rest of the team, last year Jonah Williams missed games, the left tackle, who was drafted 11 overall in the first round. So he's drafted 11 overall. Nobody knows about him because he missed the whole season his rookie year, and then last year he missed a huge chunk of games. Yep. Michael Jordan, their guard, he missed a big chunk of the season, and then they had Bobby Hart at tackle, who's not great, and he goes back to the Bills to be a backup tackle. They poach Riley Reif from the Vikings, who is there starting. He was there starting left tackle this year. He comes on to be right tackle, and of course, you just mentioned they just drafted another tackle in the second round. So, I mean, we're all out of excuses for Joe Mixon about why he can't be really good. So now's the time to see if he actually is really good or not.
Yeah, as far as Joe Mixon, I mean, the main thing was this was, if you go on Pro Football Focus, you'll see Dwayne McFarland puts out his utilization report. And a lot of that was, about Joe Mixon was he was just not playing on long down and distance. He was not playing third downs. He was ceding a lot of that in 2-minute offense. He was ceding a lot of that to Gio Bernard. And now it looks like with Gio Bernard gone, Joe Mixon is finally going to get that opportunity if he's going to be getting, the receiving work there. I mean, with what he was doing on the ground, it's only going to go up. And I really like Joe Mixon as a player. I have just never been comfortable taking Joe Mixon where he was going. So now that those concerns are off, there should be no reason why you shouldn't jump on Joe Mixon in the early second in drafts. So if you're loving this Bengals offense like I do, you have no reason to not like Joe Mixon. He's going to absolutely capitalize on how good this passing game can be. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, we talked about all those guys, and those guys are going to be threats. Those guys are going to be accounted for. But then you also have to account for Joe Mixon. The more that you can give a defense that has to account for all of those players, it's only going to help that offense. It's only going to help Joe Burrow. He's just got to stay upright to do it. But, by extension, Joe Burrow being able to stay upright is only going to help Joe Mixon being able to take advantage of later fronts.
Agreed.
Bingo.
All right. So my running back that I love, people who know me, I'm an unabashed Packers homer. Yeah. But I could also be critical. But Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is my RB6. You can get him. I believe Best Ball 10s has him his ADP at RB9, but I really like Aaron Jones. Just with the way the offense is going right now. And this is all assuming Aaron Rodgers does stay in Green Bay, but Jamal Williams is in Detroit. We have A.J. Dillon, who is never really profiled as a pass catcher. We have Kylan Hill, who is right now the third running back, for now. He could maybe be on the practice squad, and maybe Green Bay signs they have Mike Weber. They have all these other guys there. But Aaron Jones, to me, seems ticketed for more receiving work that Jamal Williams was getting. We saw Jamal Williams pretty much spell Aaron Jones on, I'd say, once every third series. Jamal Williams would get that run out there, and then kind of Aaron Jones would be more managed. Now, I don't think that's going to go away, but I think just the shift in some of that work to where I think Aaron Jones is going to get a lot more of that receiving work, while AJ Dillon is going to maybe be a closer in the style of like a Marion Barber was with Dallas Cowboys and stuff like that. But I think Aaron Jones at RB6, very efficient, scores in the red zone, receiving work. There's nothing to not like about him. And if he can, get a little bit more work as far as touches go, I think he can crack that top 5 and upwards. I like him over Jonathan Taylor. I have him over Ezekiel Elliott, I believe, though that tier is very close for me. And I know Coop is already rolling his eyes at me for Ezekiel Elliott slander, but yeah, give me all the Aaron Jones. I just took him in the Brian Drake and Dwayne McFarland. Speaking of, we had the Hustle Best Ball with a bunch of sharp people, Rich Rebar, John Daigle, all those guys. I took him at 108 and, love that pick. I think that's where he should be going. And you can get him at the very end. You can get him on the turn in best balls. You can possibly get him in the second round.
Yeah. I was going to say, you get to slide on the Zeke slander here, just barely. Because I do like Aaron Jones a lot. And I think that getting 65% of the touches with the past couple of years with Jamal Williams, if the offense is the same as it is, which it clearly looks to be, I don't see how it could be worse. So, I mean, like, for me, I also like Aaron Jones a lot, but easy on my boy Zeke, okay?
I just, that felt like a lot of words to say, if everything stays equal, he was RB5 last year. And yet he is still going now as RB9. People want shiny new toys, and I don't get it. Aaron Jones is tried and tested every year. He has proven it. I mean, dude has a soft spot in my heart, despite the fact that I did him wrong last year and paid the price for it.
And they just paid him all this money. It's like, what can you possibly say now? I feel like everyone's still dwelling on this. Oh yeah, well, they're gonna let him go. It's like they just told you that they like him. I mean, why we should all like him?
Best landing spot he could have landed in.
The best.
Green Bay.
If you are tuned into Lightning Round, here talking some fantasy football, I am Kevin Tompkins along with Gary Haddow and our new co-host, Andrew Cooper. We are talking about players that we love for 2021. Let's get into the wide receivers. And since you both started it off, I'm going to word vomit yet again because apparently I am inefficient. I am completely inefficient with my words, as Gary would say. Not to call anybody out or anything. It's not our style here. But you know what? There's one wide receiver that I'm just absolutely gravitated to. And, we're starting to see his ADP maybe perk up a little bit. He's going off the board. Let me take a look here. Wide receiver 5, you're not going to, he's wide receiver 5. He's going to be drafted in the second round. But I think he is the overall wide receiver 1, and that is A.J. Brown of the Tennessee Titans. So if you follow me on Twitter, I talk about A.J. Brown, it seems like, at least once a day. But I firmly believe that A.J. Brown should be wide receiver 1 based on the volume that he's about to receive in this hyper condensed efficient passing attack. Now, this was basically the same conversation that we were talking about Devontae Adams. Him and Michael Thomas were that decision you had to make last year in drafts as far as wide receiver 1. Adams' case for being wide receiver 1, there's nobody else in Green Bay, but Rodgers would force feed him with targets. Pretty much the same thing this year. Granted, Ryan Tannehill is not Aaron Rodgers, who is, but A.J. Brown looks like the clear breadwinner in this offense as far as the passing game goes, because alongside him, you have Josh Reynolds, you have Des Fitzpatrick, who was just drafted, and then you have Anthony Ferkser, who is the holdover as far as the tight ends go. You fast forward to today talking about Adams now to A.J. Brown. Ryan Tannehill can absolutely get the ball out. He is he is maybe not as efficient as the Packers offense, but it is an efficiency based offense. And you're talking Corey Davis is gone. Jonnu Smith is gone. It's just going to open up a whole wealth. And I would not be surprised if A.J. Brown were to hit 180, 190 targets. I think that's rarefied air, but I think just the way that offense is constructed right now, I think A.J. Brown on sheer volume, and I think he's as close to a talent as Devontae Adams, if not better athletically. I think A.J. Brown can absolutely smash and be wide receiver 1 overall in 2021.
You want to go, Gary?
We're still figuring it out. I like the only question mark that I see is Arthur Smith's gone. So what?
That's fine.
Then?
We talk, Matt. You know what? I'll just say this: Matt LaFleur left, and Arthur Smith from the tight ends coach came, into that, and we didn't know what was going on there. And now Todd Downing was the tight ends coach, and his only offensive coordinator experience was with the Raiders when Derek Carr was coming off an ACL injury. So you know what? I'm not going to knock Todd Downing. Like I've gone on Titans, boards and pages, and I've seen, Todd Downing just getting absolutely, eviscerated. But I don't think it's very fair to judge him based off of Derek Carr and I think it's the 2016 Raiders. I think, benefit of the doubt, I think Todd Downing knows enough to know what works in this offense.
I was going to say, even though that Arthur Smith's gone, I feel like A.J. Brown's going to get even more targets because that OC is going to be like, well, we got Derek and we got A.J. Let's just force feed the hell out of them and everybody else, whatever. So I'm all aboard, fully all aboard.
And Vrabel's got that shirt or hat or whatever it says. It says, just give the ball to Derek. I'm sure it's going to be the same way with A.J. And, for me, like after the first year he broke out, the second year I was like, okay, they might have still been keying on Corey Davis. Let's see if he can handle the number one, corners. Let's see if he can handle that this year. He destroyed them. You know what I mean? And in every way too, like once he runs all the routes. When he gets the ball, he's hard to bring down. He gets out of the tackles and then he explodes. I mean, it's like he has everything that you need to be a successful wide receiver. All the targets going to be there. So, I mean, if somebody took him at wide receiver 1, I wouldn't bat an eye because he's so safe if he doesn't get hurt. They have to throw the ball to somebody. They're not going to throw it to Josh Reynolds. Yep. I like Reynolds because there's no targets there, but I mean, still, it's like we're talking about a Cadillac next to a Honda Civic.
Yeah, cue up that picture of the the Bentley in the overhang there in a dilapidated house. I think I posted that for Terry McLaurin, but that is absolutely AJ Brown if I've ever seen it. Coop, who's your wide receiver that you love?
So the wide receiver that I like here is a guy that
do you like him or love him? That's the thing.
Well, here's the thing. I love AJ Brown, but I have to spend a fifth wide receiver 5 second round pick on AJ Brown. This guy I can get a bit deeper than I've ever been able to get him. And I think that when you really take a step back and look at it, all the conditions are kind of perfect for him. And I'm taking Adam Thielen. So what you're looking for in fantasy football is highly consolidated snap and target shares, right? So, some teams like the Ravens, I keep coming back to them, but they use all these different guys, all these different sets. You look at the Vikings, they basically have 2 wide receivers and then a huge gap between those 2 guys and Chad Beebe and Smith Marset and, all of BC or whoever. They used 2 tight ends last year, so they could just use the 2 guys on the outside and 2 tight ends and basically wouldn't need any other wide receivers. But Kyle Rudolph just got signed away. So even if they want to use 2 tight ends, now it's Tyler Conklin and, Irv Smith there. Irv Smith can catch balls, but I mean, Conklin, not really. The other guy they bring in a ton is CJ Ham, the fullback. He's not soaking up targets either. So it's basically these 2 guys, Irv Smith and Dalvin Cook. So unless you think Irv Smith is going up into the world where he's getting like 100 targets, there's kind of no reason why Adam Thielen isn't going to feast on a ton of targets again. The year before last, he got hurt. Last year, he got COVID, missed the game there. But if you factor in another game into what he did last year, it's another year where he's over 1,000 yards, another year where he's got a bunch of targets. He scored 14 touchdowns. So, I mean, for me, Thielen is another guy where I don't know where the targets go if they don't go to him. Jefferson can't get much more than he got last year. So I'm getting a lot of Thielen in redraft for sure.
I love him.
Receiver, 20.
Right. He's gonna get better value than that no matter what. I mean, he always does. He's gonna get close to double-digit touchdowns every year.
Right.
Yeah, and people just continually sleep on him. Like I keep seeing him getting into the 5th round, and I'm just like, why? Like all Adam Thielen has done when he's healthy is produce. I mean, I'm looking at him right now. Yeah, 14 touchdowns. That's probably going to come down, but he also only had just a shade over 100 targets too. So it's going to balance out somewhere. Now, if he gets into that, maybe 7 and 8, and then maybe can throw out, 80, 85 catches, that, like you said, it's very consolidated as far as Jefferson and Thielen, and then it's Irv Smith, and then you're going to throw a few to Dalvin Cook, and then who else you got? Like, honestly, Kirk Cousins does really well and with his timing and anticipation throws. So Thielen's had him for years. It's going to be, fruitful again. If Thielen can stay healthy, if you're able to get him in the 5th round, that's just an absolute smash for Adam Thielen, for a guy that's done it before, and we were taking him in the 3rd round last year.
Right. Yeah, he scored 14 touchdowns, and it's like if you look at the guys that finish in the back end of the wide receiver 2s, like we're talking about like Curtis Samuel and some of these guys that they got to do all sorts of weird stuff, getting carries and you know what I mean. It's like this guy, he's gonna score touchdowns, he's gonna catch passes. Like, what more can you really ask for? Clear top 2 target on his team.
Yep, for sure. Mr. Haddow, Gary.
All right, so I'm going to go yet again another super deep into your drafts, and we're going to be looking at the middle of the 8th round, where you're going to get the last remaining wide receiver, clear-cut wide receiver 1 in the NFL with Brandon Cooks. I get that Deshaun Watson's probably not going to play. I have no issue with that for Brandon Cooks' value, because whether I would assume it's going to be Tyrod Taylor. And we know that, Tyrod. We know that Tyrod can at least throw the ball. He did it with Sammy Watkins for years. And what's Brandon Cooks' skill set? Be really fast and be able to catch the ball. He's a perennial 1,000-yard receiver. And I see no reason to think that he's not going to be able to do that. He's going to be hyper-targeted compared to what he's been in years past. You're getting him in the middle of the 8th as your potential 4th or 5th wide receiver. And similar to, like I said, with James Conner, you're getting somebody this late that has the chance to easily become a wide receiver 2 when all is said and done. Because who else are they going to throw to? David Johnson, Mark Ingram? No. Randall Cobb? No. Like, Will Fuller's gone, and Kenny Stills is gone. I literally don't know who their wide receiver 2 is. Tell me.
Maybe Nico Collins, I guess. But
it's a rookie.
Right, exactly. He's a big body too, so he's
kind of big-bodied rookie. It's going to be completely different, and it's not as if Houston's a wide receiver factory, right?
I mean,
that Hopkins guy is pretty good.
But people that sleep on Brandon Cooks, it blows my mind, man. If you look at the list of guys that 27 and under yards, 27 and under. I don't have the list in front of me, but I was looking at it the other day, and it's like he's like 7th on the list, and the guys ahead of him are literally like Randy Moss, Mike Evans, like Torrey Holt. Like, it's like ridiculous. Like the list is like insane, and he's not even 28 yet. He could actually pass. I forget who it was, but he could actually pass the person that's ahead of him. It's like Marvin Harrison or somebody. He could pass them because he's got a couple games at 27 this year. Like, I know the concussions are scary, but beyond that, all he does is make big plays, and he can still score at any moment because he's crazy fast. 4.35 or something, right? Like something stupid like that.
So
yeah, I mean, Brandon Cooks. Do I want to make anybody mad right now?
Wait. Where are you getting him?
Right, dude. It's AJ Brown.
You're getting him at like you're getting him outside the wide receiver 3, so that's value. Yeah. I'm not going to pretend like that's not value, because it is, But then, and another thing, you want to say, okay, well, who's going to be throwing the ball, or what is the quality of target he's going to be getting?
What if Deshaun plays? You just got Deshaun Watson's clear-cut 1.
Yeah, you got him pretty much a 2 to 3 round value. But I mean, I'd say even with Deshaun Watson, that team isn't going to be not very good, which is going to help for fantasy. But he's continually underrated. But it's really hard to kind of peg this. Situation is so fluid with Watson and everything. So that's what makes it more difficult, and it's where you see him sliding. But the talent is there. That's a guy that had I think he had over 1,100 yards last year. He is not the 1,000-year-old man like Gary almost called him. He is, the 1,000-yard receiving man when he is healthy. 5 of the last 6 years, when he wasn't hurt, in 2019, he could have been up there. He's on pace for it. But I mean, he is as consistent when he is healthy to just putting up stats and being great for fantasy. So, it's still fluid. We still got more news coming out about that. And, if you follow Drew Davenport on Twitter, he's been putting out a lot of good threads about, he's has a legal mind. I believe he is an attorney. And from that point of view, he's been putting out updates about Deshaun Watson and that whole, scenario. So make sure you follow him on Twitter about all of that. But yeah, other than that, I mean, Brandon Cooks is fantastic when he is healthy. And who is going to even be the quarterback? But they just sign Jeff Driscoll today too. Add another wrinkle.
Wow. They're trading for Jarrett Stidham.
Did they? They got that guy from Stanford.
There's a rumor about Stidham trade that I was seeing. There's been talks.
That terrifies me.
I don't know if it'd be great. Yeah, but they have Jalen Mills, right? The rookie there, and
Davis Mills.
Yeah, Davis Mills.
That's it.
Yeah.
Him too. Yeah.
That's the guy from Stanford, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I just have to say, because we brought him up, I can't wait till something wacky happens and Tyrod loses the job to Davis Mills. Because it has to happen. It'd be 4 places in a row. Because it would be the Rams, the Chargers, the Browns, and then before that the Bills.
Yeah, well, make sure you keep an eye on that team doctor there. But if you're just joining us, this is Lightning Round. I'm Kevin Tompkins with Gary Haddow, and of course our brand new co-host, Mr. Andrew Cooper from Fantasy Alarm. We will round out the players that we love, and I'm going to go to Gary for our tight end talk here. So tight end that you love, Gary.
Of all the players that I've listed so far, this is the person that I love relative to their value the most. Jared Cook is now with the LA Chargers, with Justin Herbert, with Keenan Allen, with Austin Eckler. They got rid of Hunter Henry, and he is going as the tight end 27. I don't understand this. I can entirely punt the tight end position in every one of my drafts, and I will get Jared Cook way at the end there. Do you know what Hawkinson or the tight end 5-6 last year did? 700 yards and 6 touchdowns. Why can't Jared Cook easily do that? It makes no sense to me. Granted, I mean, Kittle was probably, he was banged up and stuff last year, but still, he's going to be a top 8 tight end. I have I would bet money on it. I would actually probably say he's going to be closer to a top 7 tight end. I have no qualms about it. And you're getting him completely free with what looks like to be an ascendant quarterback who's potentially only going to get better next year, which is crazy. And you can't give Jared Cook the attention he deserves as just this giant, big-bodied tight end, because Keenan Allen's there, Mike Williams is there, Josh Palmer is there, and Austin Eckler is there. I am all aboard Jared Cook train this season.
Yeah, I mean, I just wrote a tight end concept article recently over on Fantasy Alarm, and one thing I talked about is the tight end room, where you look at the room and see who does what. You got the guys that block, the guys that kind of do everything. Jared Cook is a strict pass catching tight end. He doesn't block. For the Saints, he played slot. Pretty much that's why you didn't hear anything about Traquan Smith or Emmanuel Sanders even, really, is that they had him in the slot basically. And then they would use Josh Hill as a blocking guy or Adam Troutman. So, coming into this offense, unless the rookie Josh Palmer's amazing, we know Jalen Guyton made Kev's all exercise team there as a guy ran a stupid number of routes, didn't touch the ball. So I think that, at 27, this is for the same reason that last year I was telling people to grab Jimmy Graham at tight end 22 or whatever it was. He ended up being 13. It's in best ball leagues or any of these leagues, 27 is free. You could grab a tight end at 12 and then grab another one at 27, and this guy might be better than the guy you grabbed at 12. So I'm all for that. Yeah, for sure. I mean, free.
Yeah, and then look out at this angle too with Joe Lombardi as the new OC. That's bringing him over from the Saints. So if anybody knows how to use tight ends creatively, it's Joe Lombardi. So add another wrinkle there, with the offense that we just talked about with Herbert throwing to Keenan Allen and Williams and all these other guys. Yeah, there's no reason why Jared Cook can't be at least a fringe top 12 guy with upside. To just score in that offense. So yeah, 60 catches. What was it? 60 catches, 700 yards was tight end 5
and 6 touchdowns. That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And I should just say that for this exercise of like guys we love, and this is why it was so difficult. I had Eckler first. Keenan Allen's actually my favorite wide receiver going into this year, but I like Jared Cook that much for his value that I didn't want to double up on the team. And Justin Hurt, like all 4 of them. I mean, God, that offense is going to be so awesome. I'm so excited to see what the new head coach can do coming out from underneath Sean McVay, even if he's a DC defensive minded head coach, and then Joe Lombardi coming. It just, they're finally going to be doing something. It's so exciting for them.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Coop, who Mr. Tight End over here.
All right, so I gotta go with Eli Wolf.
Love it.
Yeah,
that's right.
My
boy.
Check. We promised we were gonna mix him in a couple podcasts. Now I'm not gonna pick Eli Wolf though. I'm hoping that this is his year that he transcends the Ravens practice squad. But the guy I'm going with is a guy that Kev was shaking his head because I've been a truther for this guy for a long time. It's Evan Ingram. And at Evan Ingram consistently has been a guy that's been drafted within the top 12 tight ends, the range where you're picking a guy to be your tight end. He's been in tight end 6 or 7 in drafts, and he's disappointed for the most part. But the thing about Ingram is that when you really look at this guy, he's built more like Demaryius Thomas than he is a normal tight end. He's 6'3", 234 pounds, runs a 4.4 240. Demaryius Thomas was 6'3", 229, 4.41. So this is a guy that basically last year, Garrett came in, tried to use him like Jason Witten, have him play the Y tight end, all those concepts, like didn't work out. Now everyone's like, okay, they brought in Kyle Rudolph, they brought in Kenny Golladay, Ingram. He's fallen to the back burner. You can, he's going outside of the top 12 tight ends in your drafts. But here's the thing. He led that team in targets last year, had 100 targets. He was the number 4 tight end in targets, number 5 tight end in catches. He was number 8 in yards, but he was number 47 in touchdowns, right? He has an opportunity still. They brought in a rookie to play slot and do some gadget stuff. Sterling Shepard and Slayton weren't particularly impressive, in their full-time roles on the outside. If they still continue to do what they were doing and have Kenny Golladay play split end, the big split end, and then they have Ingram play in the slot, which he was doing pretty much towards the end of last year, they kind of figured it out. He can now, with the pressure off him and not facing top corners, you might not see as many of those drops, as many of those deflected passes. I think this is actually an opportunity, a rising tide lifts all boats type situation where last year Ingram gets all these targets. They're highly contested. This year, what happens when Saquon comes back? The offense is actually good, and he just scores 6, like we just talked about, 700 yards and 6 or 7 touchdowns. It's like everyone always wants Ingram to be this guy that's like 1,000 yards, all these catches, but he doesn't even need to be that to give you value at tight end 15. So if I'm waiting on tight end, I'll probably grab one guy, late that's like a safe guy that can start week 1. I throw Ingram on the bench and I say, how are they using this guy? And if they continue to use him like a wide receiver, which now they can completely because they have Rudolph, then, he could find a way to kind of thrive now that he's not the focal point of that offense. So Ingram, I think, is, I'm always going to stick with him because he's my guy, but I think it's kind of a sneaky situation for you to get him for cheap if you like that athleticism, which there's basically no tight ends in the league that are faster than him at 4.42. He's faster than Pitts. He's faster than Kittle, Gesicki, Noah Fant. He's faster than all those guys.
It's what's funny about Evan Ingram is these same things we were actually taught in an earlier career Jared Cook, because Jared Cook had that athleticism too, but then he didn't realize it in the first few years, And then people were still taking him in drafts just based completely off his athleticism, maybe not so much as his role. And then he got, went to the Rams, and he went to Green Bay, and now he's kind of found another life, the late in life tight end, Jared Cook. But, I see no reason why Evan Engram can't capitalize on, the offensive environment with the Giants. I think Garrett will be able to do some stuff with him and Galladay, and I think you look at those receivers and you look at, the gadget stuff with Tony, you look at Shepard, you look at Slayton. I'm not at all really enthused about anything else on that offense, but Galladay, and it's Daniel Jones has to put this all together too. I mean, with all these weapons coming into New York, there is no excuse for him now. So with Evan Engram, that is a talent that he needs to take advantage of. With Galladay, they have gifts that they can take advantage of defenses with, certainly more so than Sterling Shepard, certainly more so than Slayton, who, God bless his heart. The thing that he's probably going to be known for in 2021 was reading or handing off the card for the second pick the Giants made in the draft. Evan Engram, where he's going, and I have him at tight end 18, which I think is pretty low, looking at that now. But I know, wow. But I think he can certainly creep into that top 12, with a good season, with renewed optimism in New York. I think he can certainly hit that.
Right. And the thing is, where he's going, if he's no good, then just drop him. Because, in most leagues, it's 10, 12 leagues. Everyone starts one tight end. Most people don't even roster two. So he's just a guy that, if you're not sold on your first guy, you throw him on the bench. If he's no good, that bench spot is valuable. So, that's what I mean about these guys. Like, you're not paying anything. Just like Jared Cook, you're not giving up anything to get him. It's just a chance at something great.
Yeah. The opportunity cost is just ridiculous. Gary, anything to add?
I'm looking at your tight end rankings right now. Sorry. And I'm just like, man, I don't know if I would put Hunter Henry or Ferkser above Engram. Gesicki is whatever. But it's bold, man. It's pretty bold. So
I'm a bold guy. What can I say?
If for some reason he can fix some of the drops, he just had such egregious drops last year. Like, there's no reason that he can't be a top 12 tight end. I was fully in on Evan Engram last year, and I felt like I kind of got burned by it. But when he goes off, he goes off. We'll see what happens. I'm one of those weird people that thinks that addition doesn't lead to subtraction. I'm like, maybe he'll have some less targets, but once Saquon's back and Galladay's there, he'll have less targets. But while it'll hurt him some, I think that he's going to have quality targets. I think that kind of like them being around will make him elevate his game and all that stuff. But I'm way more of a narrative-driven fantasy player than I am the stats nerds like you guys.
Yeah, we get a little nerdy at times, but it's narrative plus stats. You can't just stick with them. Like, totally. You'd be crazy to do just one or the other.
Yeah.
Now, we had mentioned Anthony Ferkser, and as much as I would love to talk about him, I didn't want to get too Titans heavy. So I will go ahead and I will talk about my tight end 4 going off the board at tight end 5, TJ Hawkinson. Now, take out Kenny Galladay, take out Marvin Jones, replace them with Tyrell Williams and Brashad Perryman. Bring in a head coach who loves to bite off kneecaps that pretty much just looks deranged at this point, based on every single press conference he has had up to this point. Now, this defense, not good. This offense, not good. The only real redeeming quality right now is DeAndre Swift in this offense. They brought in Jared Goff in that Stafford trade. Jared Goff is going to be running for his life. Maybe not so much now with Penny Sewell there, but TJ Hawkinson is in an absolute prime position to get over 100 targets, to be the top target getter in that offense, and just absolutely be force-fed. And last year, he had 100 targets, but it was the quietest 100 targets I've ever seen. Like, he didn't just jump off of the page. He didn't have, that 100-yard, 2-touchdown game. He just did it slow and steady, consistently. He was never, he didn't jump off the page. He didn't have to. I think TJ Hawkinson has the ability to maybe jump off the page a little more this year. And I think he can maybe start to sniff that upper tier of tight end. I don't think he's going to be quite there yet, but I think he's got the opportunity just on the sheer volume. The Lions are going to pass about 600 times with, they're going to be down in games by the, beginning of the third quarter. So give me TJ Hawkinson just from a volume standpoint all day. I mean, he's completely talented too. Don't get me wrong. This isn't just a complete volume play.
I mean, you don't even need to be talented with that amount of volume. We just saw it last year with Logan Thomas. I mean, we all like Logan Thomas. Of course, he's a professional football player, and he's converted quarterback to tight end. But I mean, in a vacuum, is Logan Thomas really an elite tight end, or did they just have only Terry McLaurin and him and J.D. McKissick to throw the ball to? I mean, the Lions don't even have Terry McLaurin. I can't. The floor is so safe on this guy because I don't even know where you could possibly throw the ball besides him that many times. You know what I mean? It's can you imagine being the offensive coordinator and being oh yeah, throw it to Rashad Perriman again? Of course not. You know what I mean? He's going to get every third target at least. I mean, it's inevitable.
Yep.
Hawk just doesn't do it. I know where he's going to finish. I don't know what it is. I think that my Jared Goff hatred is just permeating from my pores as just my least favorite player. I almost swore, but I'm trying to not do that on YouTube anymore. In the NFL, I hate him. I think I hate him more than I hate the Rams. So I really wish the best for TJ Hawkinson and for Swift. That's where it ends.
From a 49ers fan, I think that was pretty nice of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. One, dare I say, reasonable.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, these are all the players that we love. And I'm going to, before we hop off tonight, again, make sure that you are subscribed to us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to us on Spotify, on Google. You can find us at K Tompkins II, at Haddow 27, at Coop Fiasco. I'm still just astounded by that Twitter handle, by the way. It's going to take me a second to read that every week, but
too smart.
Yeah. You were bringing the brains and the bronze to us. We were just a 2-bit operation. Now we're flying over the moon here. We're like Dogecoin right now.
Three amigos
That's
amigos
right.
flying to the moon.
The 3 best friends that everyone should. All right, so again,
this far with that.
I know we made it this far. Yeah, in under an hour too. By the way,
I know.
Look at that. We're maybe we're going to be efficient like that Titans offense. We'll see.
Shout out to Loop for these logos. Jordan Loop. Follow him at Cantaloupe. CANTALOUPE. He's a hilarious follow and a great addition to the community.
Cantaloupe.
Absolutely, 100%. Coop and Loop. You can obviously find us all in the Fantasy Besties every Monday, but every Wednesday, or other days too. Who knows what we're gonna do, but you can find us too, and that's where the notifications come in to make sure when we are streaming and to subscribe to our channel, subscribe to Spotify, do all that stuff. Go buy our stuff on Veridian Global. Code Lightning Round gets you 25% off. For Gary Haddow, for Andrew Cooper, the first maiden voyage with the 3 amigos here. I am Kevin Tompkins. Have a great night.